Thank you so much for doing so. This is WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got quite a variety of topics to get to. We're talking, we've got some exclusive reporting from Tara Snyder here, one of our, what's your official title? I've already forgotten.
I think I'm an editorial intern right now,
Yes.
But then my official title will be Junior Associate Assignment Editor.
Sweet. That's how I got my
yes.
start here. So, and to my right, we have Grant, who will be talking about the current state of Joe Biden's brain. Kind of a scary topic to think about.
I don't know that anyone really wants to discuss that, but it's something that has to be done. You know what I mean?
And Grant Atkinson, another one of our lovely editorial interns, who will be a staff writer.
That's right. I will be, I don't know what my official title is, but writer. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
And my name is Brian Chai. I am the manager of publishing operations. I think that's my title. My boss tends to change that on me quite often. Before we get started today, though, I did want to give you guys a quick heads up. If you are watching us on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and follow us. That way you know when we get... you'll be notified, and double make sure that you hit that bell when you subscribe to us on YouTube. That way you get like the big notification on your screen saying, hey, really cool people are about to talk about really cool stuff. So please make sure you tune in. So once you do that for us, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I guess I can start. So this weekend, WJ went and visited Trump at the Trump rally that Turning Point USA held. It was kind of about voter integrity, and that was kind of the theme. But we went there because there was a lot of really great people there, and I actually got the opportunity to talk with Ashley Babbitt's mother.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was a short conversation, but we did get some really great information from her. And really interestingly, when I asked her just kind of what she thought about how her daughter's case, if that's what you'd call it, is being handled, she's really disappointed in it. And this is what she had to say. She said, "My daughter was a California constituent, and Nancy Pelosi not only ignored my feelings, she orchestrated the death of my daughter." Now, of course, you know, Nancy Pelosi didn't pull the trigger or anything like that, but she did set up this kind of media narrative to where her daughter's death has been covered, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's always tough talking about, you know, any situation where someone dies. You want to be very respectful, and you also want to give people, like you said, Nancy Pelosi herself did not pull any triggers, and I understand this mother's grief. So to me, it is a bit of a struggle.
Yes.
I get where she's coming from. I 100% do. It is, you know, it's a tragedy. No parent should have to attend their own child's funeral. I think we can all agree on that.
And that's the thing too, is like, if something were to happen to my child or anyone, you want to know who's responsible for your child's death. And
Absolutely.
I think that is completely valid. She went on to say, while I was talking to her, "I've reached out to Nancy Pelosi's office several times. She has yet to call me back because she is too busy playing in her clubhouse with all of her elite people." Which I think, you know, is true. It's not like she doesn't know that Ashley Babbitt's mother is reaching out to her and wants to know what happened to her daughter. I think that she deserves a statement at the very least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and honestly, like, it doesn't take that much effort to pick up a phone. Like, that's like the bare...
Yeah.
Send a text for crying out loud.
I know.
But.
Yeah, she could easily just say, "I'm sorry, like, da-da-da, we're working on it." Just something, just to give the acknowledgement. And there's the quote on the screen that you just saw. So we also just published an article today about this. I wrote an article and talked about this. And one of the things I highlighted in there is that, at least for right now, we have no reason to believe that Ashley herself was being violent, lighting any of the fires or anything like that to that extent. So from that standpoint, like, her mother wants to know who's responsible, because there wasn't really that kind of, the lines weren't so blurry as I think the media made it out to be.
Yeah.
You know, so in the age of police accountability and police transparency, why do you think that this is been allowed to go on? Why is no one talking about it?
What do you think, Grant?
Well, to me, I think that is kind of the most striking part about this whole thing. You talked about her quote about Nancy Pelosi orchestrating the death, and, you know, we can sit here and debate that all day. I think something that's not up for debate is the hypocrisy of Pelosi and the Democrats and the way that they've responded to this.
Yep.
Just in the way that the people who were in the Capitol, the people who were, as they would put it, insurrectionists. I'm not sure that I would define them as that, but that's what they would say. That's what the establishment media has called them. And so those people are getting so much coverage. It's all we've heard about for the last 6 months. I mean, over and over again, because that is honestly, that's a winning talking point for the left, is that there were rioters. I'm not sure if we define them as rioters or not.
Agitators.
There were people
agitators
in the Capitol building that were not supposed to be there that were supporting Trump. And so that is a talking point that they know that they can get some benefits from, and that's why they focused on it so much. But in the middle of them focusing on all that, they've completely ignored the fact that a woman was killed. And I think that there's
potentially by police,
right.
Capitol Police.
And there's I don't see any reason why they wouldn't want to know who did that. And I've heard, I remember when the insurrection first happened, the incursion at the Capitol, and they were talking about, I heard a lot of leftist politicians saying, well, if these had been African-American leftists, that they would have been treated much differently than these white folks and that a lot more people would have died. I think that's a ridiculous point, but I heard it made a lot of times.
Yep.
And what I would say to those people is, if this had been an African-American who died, it would be all over the news. We would know everything about it. This person would be on trial. There'd be riots and there'd be burning in the cities and the streets. Yep. And this was a white woman who was a Trump supporter, and we're supposed to just brush it under the rug and pretend like we don't care about finding out the facts.
So off that point, Brian, I guess my question is for you. Do you think that the media and how they've portrayed what they're calling the insurrection, do you think that really contributed to how Ashley's death has been covered?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, look, I don't want to come off like I'm defending it. Like, you just don't storm the Capitol. Like, I feel like that should be common sense advice. Maybe don't do that. So look, I'm not worried about some of these idiots who've been arrested. But one thing I do worry about is, like you said, the way the media's covered this. They've just vilified everyone involved.
Yes.
So, whether, the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, what have you, they don't care about the why of, why did these agitators storm the Capitol? They don't care about the why. They just care about the who, essentially. And they've broadly labeled all these people Trump supporters. And so, I think the way the media has covered it has absolutely just taken the memory of Ashley Babbitt and kind of, dusted it under the rug. Because the way the media treats this, I mean, look, this is kind of apples to oranges, but just look at the comparison of Michael Floyd versus Ashley Babbitt. Michael Floyd gets like murals and statues.
George Floyd, yeah.
Who's Michael Floyd? That is a former NFL player. Wow. Okay, George Floyd, yes. Michael Floyd is a former Arizona Cardinals receiver. George Floyd has been deified, and again, that is part of the media's coverage. They slovenly, they were slobbering over how great of a guy he was, and just seeing that, seeing the dichotomy of the way the media is like, George Floyd. I keep want to say Michael Floyd, George Floyd, and then the way the media is like, Ashley Babbitt, she's just one of those crazy Trump kooks, like, who stormed the Capitol, whatever. Like, I mean, that's essentially the narrative the media has peddled, and sadly, it is the narrative that has probably taken the most hold as far as like anything revolving around January 6th goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that you can't even really make. I wouldn't even say that it is apples to oranges, really, because these are both people who were engaged in nonviolent, from all accounts, criminal activity. I mean, one of them was in the Capitol; they weren't supposed to be. Yeah. The other one had a criminal record and allegedly was trying to use a counterfeit bill, which, I'm not saying that what happened was justified, but these are both people that were involved in a crime that was happening, and one of them has been treated like a hero and the other one has been just completely ignored. Yeah. So I think that is a pretty good comparison in my eyes.
Yeah. And, one reason why I think the media is as emboldened as they are to push this narrative is because the current administration in place is letting them. They probably encourage this. which would be fine if we had an administration that was sharp as attack. Unfortunately, the guy at the head of our administration, I don't know what the opposite of attack is. Maybe like maybe one of those like little sticky putties that used to put stuff up.
Yeah, something that just has no point, no tip at all.
Yeah, that's probably a little closer. So, Grant, I'm going to let you take this away. Try not to scare our audience too much about our president.
I'm going to try. It's a little bit concerning. Obviously, this is not the first time that we've had Biden gaffe. I believe we even have a category on our website dedicated to Biden gaffes, which is, not what you would like to see from a president, but that's what needs to be covered because those are the things that's happening. And it happened again this weekend. Biden was talking to reporters. Now, there's a lot of helicopter sounds. There's background noise. And so it's difficult to make out exactly what he's saying. But this has gotten a lot of press here. And I'm going to show you a video. And I want to hear what you guys think he has to say.
Oh, I can't wait.
Should be reconciliation.
What must be what?
Immigration. A pathway for citizenship.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. But what did you hear there?
I mean, at first, I think the difference is it's like you have to pay attention to what you're listening for. It's like the Yanny Laurel thing,
Yeah.
So it's like as soon as I heard what we all think we heard, I was like, oh well, now there's no changing it. But I'm not sure if I would have waged my bets on it at the first go.
Well, yeah, I wanted to let the audience hear that and kind of see if they hadn't seen the video, kind of make their own interpretations. But just to be clear, what people are saying that it sounds like he said is my butt's been wiped.
Yeah.
And that's it's very graphic, not something that you really want to think about from Joe Biden or anyone really. So I don't know. What do you think, Brian? Even if he didn't say that, you would have to admit that the delivery, the whole exchange was a little bit off.
Yeah. Listen, as the oldest person up here, I am painfully cognizant of mental faculties starting to slow down. Given that I am not the president of the United States of America, I am just a dude who is forgetting things. But no, when it comes to Biden, I think, regardless of what he actually said, like it is. I think Tara is right. I think there is some what do they call it? Like kind of confirming your biases based on what you want to hear. I mean, it does sound like he mentioned wiping his butt, which is bizarre. No, but with Biden, it is a matter of It's not a matter of what he says. It's a matter of how he presents himself. Like that's the concern at this point. Listen, Biden probably has so many marionette strings being pulled at any given time that, whether or not he's mentally fit to lead is almost irrelevant. Like, he's not in charge here. But Biden is still the public face of the country. Mm-hmm. So when you have a doddering old man talking about his butt being wiped, that does not hold particularly well when Biden has to go have a summit with Putin. Look, say what you will about Trump. At the very least, the dude was mentally there. Like
he was.
He was
sharp.
Yeah,
he was.
Trump was sharp. Like, say what you will about him, the former president of the United States is very sharp. You don't worry about him embarrassing himself because he mentioned his butt being wiped. To be fair, Trump might embarrass us in other ways.
But it's not in that way.
His dancing kind of gets to me. But that's neither here nor there.
And I think, too, like, the sad thing is for Biden is I think part of the reason he won is because it's like, oh, it's Grandpa Joe. It's old Uncle Joe. He's a little bit kooky. He's a little bit out there. But he can't do anything that bad, right? But now we've just kind of seen this steady decline of all these random things we're saying. And we're like, okay, Uncle, maybe it's time to put him away. Probably don't want your kids around him. It's just gone downhill so fast.
Yeah, I mean, if Joe Biden was just like my crazy uncle I only have to deal with at Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'd love him. Unfortunately, he's running this country, or sort of. But yeah, it is seeing the figurehead, the leader of this country present the way that Joe Biden does is disconcerting, to say the least.
It is. We've got a second video I want to play. It's kind of some more context for that last video of kind of what was said before and if he was answering a question. And then he goes into talking about immigration and whether they can use budget reconciliation. But he mixes up his words there again, too, because he doesn't know the difference between the word immigration and reconciliation. So we've got a video of that here that we can play.
Must it be reconciliation?
What must be what?
Immigration. A pathway for citizenship.
There needs to be a pathway for citizenship. Whether it can be immigration remains to be seen.
So he says there needs to be a pathway to citizenship. Whether it should be through immigration remains to be seen. I don't know what other kind of pathway to citizenship there would be. I'm pretty sure he meant through reconciliation. But once again, we just have an example of our president, the leader of the free world, being unable to communicate a pretty simple thought.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? So Biden is, with any given president, you would hope either they have really good policies or they're an extremely good leader. Look, this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I think Trump had really good policies. I'm not sure he was a good leader. Obama was neither. Biden is neither. And it's just seeing like the utter inability to kind of take your words, your intelligence, I guess, and just like not exposing what you don't know. I don't know. It's just Trump was guarded, but he was well-spoken. He was energetic. With these guys, it's like, man, at least with Trump, I liked his policies. I think Trump had great conservative policies. With these guys, it's one, they're just horrible leaders, and two, I hate their policies. And so there's really nothing redeeming at least with Joe Biden. I mean, I think Obama was one of the worst presidents we ever had, but I'd probably go get a beer with him. Like, talk basketball, grab a beer. Like,
yeah, I mean, at least he has interests.
Yeah,
like talk about.
Yeah, like there's like something of a personality there. I may not like that personality, but there's something of it there, as opposed to Joe Biden, who, has no personality. Like, he is your kind of goofy uncle that you put up with.
Oh, yeah, I know for sure I probably wouldn't want to get a beer with Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
Another reason you might not want to go get a beer with him is because he likes to talk about blood being sucked from children.
Yeah.
So I think we have a clip of that as well that we can play here.
We are not defunding the police. We have
Are
not.
there people who, in the Democratic Party, who want to be president?
Are there people in the Republican Party who think we're sucking the blood out of kids?
I'm not sure. Are there people in the Democratic Party who want to...
Mr. President.
The best part of that whole exchange was that, I wish we had it to bring it up real quick, but that statement was fact checked about whether, Republicans actually believe Democrats drink blood, or whether Democrats drink blood, and it was rated mostly false. The mostly really got to me.
A half Pinocchio from the Washington Post, It's. I think the craziest part to me is that he just says things like that, and then he just laughs it off and walks away. And the media, they never hold him accountable. They never say like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, like, what do you think needs to be done in those situations where Biden makes these comments that make no sense? Like, what should the media do to kind of address that?
I think it's less of a question of what should be done, but more of what can be done, because it's like, what can you do? Like, that guy is the leader of the free world. We elected him as the American people. And so we have to deal with it. We have to be like, yes, that's our bumbling buffoon president that we elected who can't keep like two thoughts straight. So, I mean, we made our bed. Now we have to sleep in it.
That is sad. That is really sad. I will say the way the media just refuses to hold Biden accountable reminds me of another man who I want to bring up, because everyone's favorite doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, could be in some hot water. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky he essentially requested a DOJ criminal investigation into Dr. Fauci. It is largely based on the interaction that Fauci and Paul had. I'm sure everyone's seen it where they've been arguing, but essentially, Paul thinks that Fauci has been secretly funded, or not secretly, but has funded this what's gain of function?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, gain of function research
Yeah.
at the Wuhan virology lab, which is where a lot of people think coronavirus came from. And, so Paul sent a letter. The letter was acquired by the Washington Examiner. And in it, Paul writes, I write to urge the United States Department of Justice to open an investigation into testimony made to the United States Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions by Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, on May 11th, 2021. So, real quick background. So, gain of function research, for anyone who doesn't know, is essentially when a lab, a scientist, what have you, they will take a virus. They largely work with viruses, and essentially are trying to increase or decrease transmittability, or also increase or decrease the range of animals, I guess, that can get it. An example would be, if there's a virus that affects me and Grant, and a doctor wanted it to affect Tara, that would be a gain of function, because this new virus would now all of a sudden attack Tara as well. So, this is all very sketchy stuff. And Paul is 100% correct to be calling out Fauci for this. So, first, Grant, I'm going to kick it over to you. Do you think this criminal investigation request actually goes anywhere?
I don't, at least not in the current political landscape. We have a Democratic president, we have a Democratic Senate, we have a Democratic House.
Yeah.
And
the Department of Justice is run
when
by,
we have a Department of Justice run by
Merrick Garland.
Crazy leftists as well. Not even just Democrats, leftists, I believe.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
fair. That's fair.
I don't see it going anywhere right now, and I think that is unfortunate, because I do think, at the very least, an investigation is warranted. I'm not saying that he should be convicted, obviously.
Yeah, to be clear, neither is. He is asking for a criminal investigation, but he's not saying Fauci to be convicted. He wants the investigation to take place. Yeah.
Here in America, what we used to kind of rely on is that if we believed that something kind of sketchy was going on, we would investigate it, and then we would draw our conclusions as to whether the evidence showed guilt or not guilt. It seems that idea has kind of gone away a little bit in the past couple of years. I don't know how long, but it seems that we're kind of losing that. But to me, I don't see why it would be a bad thing to have an investigation and just to get all the facts out there.
100%.
But I don't see who would lead it at this point, given who's in charge.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would not trust Merrick Garland to lead an investigation of Dr. Fauci. What do you think, Tara? Do you think there's any, or if you had to give a percentage, what are the chances Fauci faces a criminal reckoning for these allegations?
Probably -4.
-4%. Yikes. Okay.
I think it would be different if you had a DOJ that wasn't politically influenced and actually
That's
was
fair.
probably going to be in the middle and going to be fair, because I do think that there are serious questions that need to be answered. But at the end of the day, I think that politics is all about who you know, and he's going to be very well protected. I don't think anything's going to happen to him, and he's going to go down in history, probably like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, getting books written, having bobbleheads, and all the like. So I just don't think anything's going to happen.
I fundamentally disagree with Ruth Bader Ginsburg on pretty much every topic, but I don't know about comparing Dr. Fauci to her.
In the sense of the political idolization and the dolls and all of that.
You've seen Dr. Fauci pose on the front of Time magazine. You've seen him.
I've seen the Fauci action figure.
Yes, and then he'll have these interviews where he says, "Oh, I don't want the fame. I don't like the fame." Like, yes, you do. Like, we're all watching you like the fame. It's just, it's such a lie.
Yeah, if you didn't like the fame, you wouldn't be on like every CNN interview segment imaginable. Yeah. So Tara, let's say that this investigation happens, and they do decide, okay, let me take a step back here. Why do you think that no one seems to care that there is a potential conflict of interest between Fauci and the health policies that he's helping create? Because from everything that I've read and looked into this, like, Paul is not, just barking up a tree here. Like, there is, admittedly kind of circumstantial evidence linking Fauci to this gain of function research. So, why does no one seem to care that there is a pretty glaring conflict of interest here?
Well, I think the first thing that'll preface this, what I'm about to say is that 99% of people in healthcare are good, decent people who want to have everyone be healthy and want people to live their best life.
Yep.
But unfortunately, there are people who are power hungry, who do want to have all the control in the world, who do want to be playing God and want to control every aspect of life because they're on a power trip. And so I think that that's where that comes back to, because unfortunately it's those people whose voices that the media is listening to, and not these other doctors who are probably just as educated and went to med school themselves, and they're just being swept under the rug. So I think that that's what it comes down to ultimately.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's such a sad thought though. Are we just giving up? Are we punting on accountability in 2021? Is this what we've come to, Grant?
It seems like we are. I don't know how we get back to that. I don't, especially with, I know I just said this, but with the people in charge who are in charge. And I think that it's clear at this point to me that Anthony Fauci is a Democrat. I think there were a lot of Republicans, and I'm going to be honest, I wasn't one of them. I disliked Anthony Fauci from the beginning, and I probably discredited some things that he said that may have been true. But that wasn't everyone. There were a lot of Republicans. I've listened to a lot of commentators. Ben Shapiro was one of them, who was very pro Dr. Fauci at the beginning and said we should hear him out, listen to what he has to say. And then we see the evidence, and we see that he is just there for his own personal reasons, his own political gain.
Yep.
And we've seen it time and time again. And so I think that we've gotten to a point where the media is not going to hold any Democrat accountable ever, the establishment media.
Yeah.
And so the only way that a person like this, who is a clear Democrat, is going to be held accountable is if a website like us, or if even Rand Paul, a Republican lawmaker, does something like this. I believe that's the only way that it's going to happen, because it's not going to happen by publicly talking about it on the TV or on the internet, because they're not going to do it.
Yeah, the other outlets just won't hold them accountable. It is interesting that, Fauci, and I'll present this to both of you guys, whoever has a good take on it can go, but so let's say, it's the year 2029. I am rapidly graying. And we have found out that Dr. Fauci was in fact wrong about a lot of this. Do you think he faces any repercussions at that point if we find out that he's just been a crook?
Absolutely not. There's not even a doubt in my mind, because I can hear the narrative now. It's going to be, well, it's better that we were just too careful, because if we weren't careful enough, then grandma would have died and all of this stuff. So that's what the narrative will be. He'll never
agree.
face any challenge to what his decisions have been this entire time.
Exactly. And we've already seen that somewhat, I would say, over the year and a few months that COVID has, been a part of our society, because the excuse that we've heard over and over again for Dr. Fauci is, oh, well, more research is coming out. And so when he said that you don't need to wear masks, he just didn't know. But then he learned that you should, but then he learned that maybe you shouldn't. And then he changed his mind 17 times, but he was just learning new research. And I think, in 5 years and 9 years, whatever, if more stuff comes out that he was wrong, the excuse will be the same of, well, we didn't know that at the time.
Not enough research.
So he can't be blamed.
Yeah, that's that is. You guys are probably right. That. I mean, as sad as that is, someone who has well, I have a kid. You guys don't have kids yet, but my kid will probably be learning about the coronavirus era in a textbook. Fauci is in the history books at this point. His policy is in the history books, and it blows my mind that it will probably be remembered as him just single-handedly solving the coronavirus, even if he's been wrong. And one last thing I will say about Dr. Fauci, I think, and this is just personally, if I were his PR person, I think he could have gone a long way at engendering some goodwill if he just admitted he was wrong once in a while. That's the part that really rubs me the wrong way is, listen, I get it, doctor. You're smarter than me. You've been doing this way longer than, things that Fauci's probably forgotten more things about viruses than I even know. So he's the expert, but experts can be wrong. And I think him just occasionally admitting, hey, I was wrong about this. I wish I had more research.
Or just being oh, I'm not the only expert. Because that's been the whole thing.
Yeah, but instead he is presented, and clearly I don't know. It's both his fault and the media's, because he's not stopping the media and the media's doing it. But he's just been presented as the be-all, end-all authority. And I think that is a dangerous amount of responsibility for anyone to have, even, whether it's, an editorial intern or a, top international doctor. Like, there's got to be a certain level of humbleness and acceptance of wanting to do better, and I just don't see that with Fauci.
Yeah, to me, I think that's a little bit of the politician in him coming out as well. Because as somebody who is out in front of everyone, who is on the cover of Time magazine, who's on MSNBC every night, I think it's stroked his ego, number one. But number two, it's like, I don't want to come out and admit that I'm wrong because I like everyone thinking that I'm the expert, and I like everyone thinking that I'm right. And I think that happens to a lot of politicians. And unfortunately, while we were trying to treat Dr. Fauci as an expert, or at least the media was trying to claim he was an expert, instead we began to treat him like a politician, and then he started acting like one as well.
That is fair. And with that, friends, with lingering thoughts of Dr. Fauci, we have come to the end of today's episode. I do have one more very special request for everyone viewing right now. If you could all do us, and by us I mean not just the three of us, but everyone here at the Western Journal, a huge favor. Please go to thewesternjournal.com/join. Subscribe. That way you can help us directly bring you the biggest news, the most important news. You won't be hearing us, slobbering over Fauci. You will get the unvarnished truth. Sometimes the truth hurts, but you will get it from us, and joining us helps out a ton. And to sweeten the deal just a little bit, I threatened my boss and told him, dude, we've got to hook up our subscribers. So
he's not here today, so
it's
you
true.
can threaten him all you want.
Exactly. So if you sign up for a year today, you actually only have to pay for 10 months, and you get 2 months free. That is a special deal that we are running. Please take advantage of it. Like I said, it helps us, but it also helps you. You do get some pretty bomb content from us, especially with young journalists like Tara and Grant leading the way. With that, I think we are all set for the day, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can catch us every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We will see you all Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Hey guys, huge story. We need a fresh card. Let's red label it. Roll as fast as we can.
All right, on it. Sounds good. All right, guys, we got a red label breaking story. Can we get a picture for that? And can we try to get that out in the next 20 minutes? I want eyes on it as soon as possible.
On it, Joe. 2 more minutes and we'll be live.
Sam, we're going to need a slot for that story, so figure out what you want to bump. Ashley, we're going to want to translate it into Spanish yesterday.
Sí, señor. We can slide it in at 2:30. It should be going out here in about 10 minutes.